So today we've been out on the seafront and done a video with the high tide. We went out at just gone 1:30 because high tide was at 1:45 and it was so windy. I've ended up recording different pieces of video and then coming back, taking all the soundtrack off and recording a voiceover over the top. So I've come and sat outside where you can still hear the noise of the sea and it doesn't sound quite as much like it's been dubbed afterwards. The waves are enormous. I mean, it's August, it's not January. Look at the size of them. I mean, literally I was having trouble standing up. It's so windy. So this is Rossall Prom and you can see that the pathway is just not safe to walk on. It's absolutely just bashing over. One of those lovely sunny windy days though where you can see big white waves and crashing white horses. So I've walked on Rossall Prom up to the 5-bar gate and there's quite a few cars that are sat weather watching and watching the sea. It's not something that I would advise anybody to do if you value your car because it's, well, let's put it this way, there's a lot of salt flying about. By the time I got back in, my entire face, I've had to wipe my phone down with the floor cloth because it was covered in salty water. So it's not going to do your car much good because by the time I came back, the water was literally coming straight over and straight onto all the cars. So you can see here this lovely deep shingle beach that we've got at Rossall, and this is the beach that we're continually trying to protect and keep hold of because you can see the energy of the waves being sapped out of the waves as the tumbling over the pebbles. It's not too bad when you've got one storm because one storm and if the beach moves about you're still protected, but it's when you get two storms on a bounce and you've got the beach that's already dropped from storm number 1 and then storm number 2 comes along and ends up eroding even more pebble, so you end up with really bad overtopping and bad flooding. You can see that the pebbles are banked right up practically to the top of the recurve wall, and it's that deep shingle bank that saps all the energy out because you don't end up with a wave any bigger than the depth of the sea wall, as you could just see with that one there as it came up to the top. So you might end up with a bit of a mess on the path, but it's not kind of anything catastrophic, it's just a mess. Bit of sweeping up and away you go, rather than ending up with people flooded and sousing out and trying to clean up after significant damage. It's amazing to see it coming up and doing that, especially in August. I mean, you just don't expect it at this time of year, do you? So at this point I thought I'd better get out of the way of the direct line of fire and cross the road and get round the back of the footpath rather than trying to walk through the waves and ending up wet through from head to foot. Because you can see here that the beach is obviously a slightly different shape, so when the big waves come, they're coming over the wall instead of just coming up to it. And we're coming up here to some new fencing that's been put up, and this is for some preparatory work for the Fylde Beach management project. And because this beach it's a good sea defence, but like I've just said, the problem is when you've got more than one storm in quick succession, because it's not secure, it's only held there by its own weight. So the Fylde Beach management scheme that's starting any time late this year is going to stabilise the beach by building groins and by protecting the bottom of the sea wall. So yesterday they came and put this terrace fencing up because there's a welfare cabin coming and they wanted a compound where they could store the diggers and they take them off the beach at night. So they're going to be doing some investigations of the bottom edge of the old concrete seawall that's underneath the beach. So they're going to be surveying it and getting all the information and the details ready for when they do actually get onto site and start working. So if you're wondering, that's what that's for. Quite ironic that the minute that they turn up to do some work, the weather turns fine. So it's absolutely not advisable to go through the section of seawall that's known as the tank traps, and you'll see why in a minute. So we're just coming up to the 5-bar gate, and I'm going to go through the 5-bar gate, and I'm just going to show you the spectacular view that you see at the tank traps. And this whole section at Rossall Beach, in between here and the new Rossall Coastal Defence Scheme at Westway, has not had any work done to it at all. So here you're seeing the full might of the sea in its full natural glory, shall we say. So clearly this first little bit of footpath as you go through the gate is not going to end up being flooded out any time in the next 5 minutes. So I've just gone through the gate and stood and watched as the waves are coming up against the tank traps. These concrete posts are what's known as the tank traps. That's another story, but we've been trying to get to the bottom of that one. And just look at the waves as they're bashing against the wall. This is the back of Rossall School. So the wall here butts onto Rossall School field. So there's not really anything to right against there that's particularly vulnerable to any flooding and overtopping. But if you get sufficient flooding or even worse erosion, that could be quite a disastrous event. I'm amazed that the foam isn't blowing any more than it is doing, because normally when you've got a wind that's this bad, the foam just blows and blows and blows. So it's a bit of a novelty to be able to actually do some video and not get covered from head to foot in white foamy frothy muck that wrecks all your clothes and leaves everything filthy. Fortunately, I had the presence of mind to put a hat on, because August or not, this kind of weather it makes your hair absolutely filthy. So you can see that the waves are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They're brownie coloured because it's sand that's being churned up off the beach. I mean, this is a pretty much southwesterly wind, I would say. So we've been up to the end and had a bit of a better look to see a closer up view of it. But please don't go any further than that when the weather is like this. So you can see here, this is where we went right up to the end of the footpath, and you can see why I've just said that you shouldn't be going through that gate, through the tank trap area. So I thought we'd just have a closer look and see exactly what it looks like when you do get a little bit nearer to it. I'm still not going through the tank traps though. So I went a little bit further up and stopped before the bit where you get wet, and then zoomed in so that you've got a better close-up look at it. And boy, do those waves get big. You can see them at the back of the wall, and they're absolutely pounding over the top, and that is just not safe for anybody to go out and go over there. So please, much as you might want to do wave watching, please don't, just don't. But you can see how the foam and the spray is just getting absolutely blown all over the path. So that's that bit. And now we're at the end of Thornton Gate. So I turned round and very, very slowly walked back all the way to Thornton Gate, because the wind was coming the other way into your face. And believe me, walking into that wind is a trial. But you can see that there's an outbuild there, and the tide always bangs really seriously against that outbuild, and the waves just go up into the air. It's a really bad spot actually for overtopping and for big waves in bad weather. So I perched on the wall at the top of Thornton Gate and sat in a careful spot so that I could have a look at it, and I could catch some video of it from another safe position. You need to know all your safe spots, and then you can get a good view. I think there might be another really big wave. No, that's it for that bit. So then I walked up to the cafe, which is where we are now, because, as I said, it takes you 3 times as long to walk in a wind like this. And I popped up onto the little pathway around the side of the cafe to take some video up there, because it's sheltered and it's protected from the weather. And when you see the size of the waves that are breaking up there, they're absolutely enormous. And you might just be able to spot there, as I'm pointing, Mary's Shell. That is just the very, very top of it. So when you think how big that is and how much of it you can't see, that gives you some idea of how deep the water is. And then the waves are a lot bigger than that as well. It looks magnificent. I mean, when you're stood somewhere safe and you're looking at it and you're watching it, it looks absolutely beautiful. But you 5 minutes, well, not even 5 minutes, a couple of minutes and you'd be dead. I mean, just even the force of those waves, just imagine being in that. Look at how they're coming up over the seawall. And this wide seawall here, it's actually designed to do exactly what it's doing in this video. It's coming over, the energy of the waves is dissipated as they climb the steps, and then the top of the wave just gently sort of trickles, or surges maybe, across the top of the concrete flat promenade. And that is exactly how it's designed to work, so that it catches the water and sends it back into the sea. So, as I said before, there's always a reason, and when you stand there and you watch it coming over, it's quite a sight to see. So then I went for a little bit further up so that we could have a proper look over the sea wall at the Cleveleys defences, and you can see in the distance there how big those waves are. In fact, well, it looks as if it's just about level with the top, doesn't it? So don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure that you give it a like, make sure that you pop your comments below, don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell for notifications, and then next time we go out getting wet through and cold and blown away, you'll know when we've uploaded new videos for you. I'm amazed that we've managed to get this one actually without having to be covered in foam and absolutely sodden from head to foot, but there'll be plenty more madcap moments to come from Visit Fylde Coast, so make sure that you don't miss any of them. See you later. Bye.